Okay, so for station 3. In station 3, you should be using these cards right here. Now, if it was me, I would think ahead of time and I would say, okay, if something is happening inside of the parentheses, that means it's going to happen to the x value. If it's on the outside, it's going to happen to the y value. Now I look at this card and it looks to me like, oh, it's happening to both. So I'm going to leave that for just a second. Then I look at this one, oh, that's happening to the x. So since our formula for this is when it's inside, it's x minus h. So this minus sign goes along with this formula, so that means I have the number 1. So I'm adding 1 to the x values. So that means I'm moving to the right 1. So I look over here, translate to the right 1. So I put in here this equation. Then my next one, oh, again I have something happening to the x value. Now when it has a negative in front of that x, that means it's reflecting over which axis? Which axis is that reflecting over? If I change my x from a positive x to a negative x, that means it's reflecting over the y-axis. So I'm looking over here, reflect over the x-axis. That's not it. Reflect over the y-axis. So this is going to be f of, oops, I forgot the negative, negative x. Then the next one I have is right here. And as we said just a moment ago, or I said a moment ago, if it's on the outside of the parentheses, it's something that's happening to the y value. So this tells me I'm going to be going down because I'm subtracting from the y value. So I need to go down 4. Oh, look, amazing. It's right there. So f of x, then subtracting 4. Next one up, I have this. And if I look at this, oh, that's got something on the inside and the outside. I'm going to wait on that one. Then the next one, oh, again, something on the inside and on the outside. Let's see if I can find one. Oh, this is just on the outside. So that means I'm doing something just to the y value. So I'm adding 2 to the y value. So that means I'm going up. So f of x plus 2. Then right here I only have one action. Now this is changing the y value because f of x is the same thing as y. The y value from being a positive to a negative. So if you think the y value is going from being positive to being negative, that means it's going, think of a coordinate plane. If I have positive x or y values and it reflects to where I have negative y values, we're reflecting over the x-axis. So right here reflects over the x-axis. Then, whew, right there. So remember that if I have an a value, if I have a number that's being multiplied by the y, I'm vertically stretching or I'm vertically shrinking that number. So in this aspect, I am vertically shrinking. So I'm going to come down here to where it says vertical shrink, and I'm doing 2/3 f of x. Then I have this one, and that's inside the parentheses. So as we talked about a moment ago, it's x minus h, but this says x plus 3. Isn't that the same thing as saying x minus a negative 3? So we're going to move to the left because negative 3 is in the left direction. I'm going to move it left 3 times, and that is over here. So f of x plus 3. Oh, let's see if I can find one that has Now, in reality, it has two things going on. We just talked about this 2/3, but now it's telling us to reflect. So we do a vertical shrink with this 2/3, but then we need to reflect it over the x-axis. So that's going to be down here. So negative 2/3 f of x. See, do I have any more? I don't think so. I think we have to now start with all the extra ones. So right here, I'm going to look at this one. Tells me I'm going to move the x 2 to the right. This tells me I'm going to go down 1. So 2 to the right and then translate down 1. So f of x minus 2, and then on the outside of the parentheses minus 1. Then I'm going to take, I think, this one. This tells me I'm going to add 1 to the x, then I'm going to add 3, so I'm going to move right. Move right 1 and up 3. Right 1, up 3. So f of x minus 1 plus 3. Oh, let's see. Which other ones do I want to do? Okay, let's look at this one. This one I add 3 to my x value, but this tells me I'm going to reflect it. Remember when it was on the outside, I reflected over the x-axis. So let's see. We're reflecting over the x-axis. Ooh, reflect across the x-axis and then move to the right 3. I think that's a winner. Let's do the same thing here. I'm again reflecting over the x-axis, but I'm moving to the left 2. And, oh, I'm going to change one of these because there were 2 that had a negative right here. So let's just change this, sorry, so that it has a plus. So here, again, we're doing something to the y value. We're either shrinking or stretching it. So that number is bigger than 1, so that means we're going to do a vertical stretch. So right here I have a vertical stretch, so 4f of x. Then I'm going to take the one that I had it's almost the same as the one I just showed, except for this time this has a negative sign, so that means I'm reflecting over the y-axis also. So the 4f of negative x, because that negative means I'm reflecting over the y-axis. Then I have 2 left. I have this one left, and I have this one left. If you notice, they're both being reflected over the y-axis. This one I'm